Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. When I'm learning a new language, I'm always hunting for some good self-study materials. Books, articles, apps, you name it, anything that helps me level up. That's why, as a Russian native myself and as a foreign language teacher, I decided to go on a little mission. Find Russian books that are freely available online, for free or with a big preview, and honestly review how useful they are and whether they are built on solid teaching principles. I'm not planning to buy any of these right now, so I only looked at books that have a free PDF or a generous look inside preview on Google Books or similar sites. I searched books for learning Russian, filtered for relatively modern ones or ones that get updated, and here we are. These are the books that I actually found, meaning you can find them too. I'll give you my brutally honest opinion, and if any of them look so good that you want to buy the paper version, I will put purchase links in the description. Let's dive in. And the first book is Russian for Dummies. Right at the start, there is the alphabet. Super helpful for total beginners because, well, you can't read anything if you don't know the letters. Russian words are in bold, nice transcriptions, and I love that they use warning icons to stop you from making common mistakes. They explain that sometimes the literal translation is different from the natural one, and they give both. For example, как дела? How are you? Literally, how is business? That's great. And they even kick off with a meme that's instant past and respect. There is a section with basic phrases for different situations, with transcription and translation. Well, it's nice to have, but honestly, it would make more sense at the end of the book as review material. Right now, it just feels like a random word list, almost impossible to memorize it without any practice. Then comes the alphabet chapter. I like that they are honest and say a book alone isn't enough for perfect pronunciation. Grab the audio. But then they throw in advanced stuff like assimilation rules. Interesting. For example, final G sounds like K without any examples. It feels overwhelming for day one. After all those rules, there is exactly one matching exercise, just one. They could have added more exercises, such as choose the word from transcription, fill in the missing letters, or match Russian words borrowed from English, anything to actually practice. But instead, we jump into grammar rules, presented as long lists. Again, almost zero practice. The dialogues are decent and level appropriate, but I spotted small inaccuracies. For example, a casual conversation starts with привет, and ends with до свидания, which sounds oddly formal. Verdict. It's fun to read, explanations are entertaining with jokes included, but as a self-study book, probably not. It's more of a get familiar with the rules and some phrases kind of thing than something that will get you speaking. So there are lots of useful real-life phrases in context and beautiful, clear layout. Minuses are very little practice and way more input than output. You consume a ton and you produce almost nothing. The second book we are going to take a look at is Colloquial Russian. Also starts with the alphabet, but this time they compare letters to English ones. There are example words, but zero transcription. So if you're studying alone, you'll probably pronounce loan words the English way. Not great. On the plus side, the structure is really solid. We have a dialogue with audio, by the way, key phrases from the dialogue, vocabulary explanations, comprehension questions, grammar, and cool improvisation section where you respond to lines from the dialogue. I love that one. Downsides, there are occasional typos, some outdated expressions talking about Russian media from the 90s, etc., and a few translation exercises that feel unnecessary because translation is another skill. So if you're able to speak at length, you know that you mastered the language. It doesn't mean that you are able to translate that language because that's another skill, as I already mentioned. Okay, overall, that's one of the better ones methodologically. And the next book is Teach Yourself Russian. Well, no transcription again, and right away they hit you with hard and soft vowels without explaining what they really mean. Interesting. They divide letters into 3 groups, look like English but sound different, etc. And sometimes they give rough English equivalents, and they might be helpful. But then reading exercises with random words, no transcription, no audio, no translations, nothing. How is a beginner supposed to self-check? They basically say, if you don't get the sounds, ask a native speaker. Cool, but, well, then why call it a self-study book? Let's move on. Later they teach cursive handwriting. And yeah, this book is quite old and it's quite outdated, but I just wanna highlight that this skill is unnecessary, completely unnecessary in 2025. Of course, it's great that you can write a word like chinchilla, and if you're not a native, you will probably struggle with understanding that word. If you write like this, then it's fine, so you do not have to learn another skill. So the entire book is basically read grammar, do translation exercises, English to Russian and from Russian to English. If you love grammar translation method and solving grammar puzzles like crosswords, you might enjoy it. Otherwise, you will know a lot of grammar, but probably won't be able to speak.
The next book is Russian Language in 25 Lessons. Finally, a book that doesn't scare beginners with a giant alphabet table. They give actually useful pronunciation rules, like pronounce go as vo, красивого. That's so much better than just here are the letters, now suffer. And it starts with verbs and personal pronouns. That's smart. Tables are clear, exercises are right there, and answers immediately below. I usually just cover them with my hand and it works fine. Only complaint, no dialogues at all until the very end. It feels more like a phrasebook with grammar tables than a proper textbook. Also surprisingly many English mistakes in translations. I think that Russian language is not difficult. In 2018 we already had tools to fix that. Another book I found is Daphne with Russian course. Here we can say thematic chapters, you learn vocabulary and phrases in real context, and also there is an alphabet and there are recorded sounds so you can repeat those sounds, and that's awesome. Structure is very similar to Colloquial. We have a dialogue, key phrases, vocab, grammar, questions, but practice exercises are mostly handwriting and cursive. Again, that's irrelevant today, and there aren't enough grammar drills. Zero speaking practice where you talk about yourself. Some vocabulary is dated, like postage stamps or audio cassettes, but overall still perfectly usable for beginners. I've also found some random free PDF. Let's check her out. Well, it looked promising, found some common phrases for different situations, but then I saw the transcription and almost cried. It's unreadable even for native Russians. Whoever made that transcription clearly gave up on life that day. Russian short stories. The book says it's for beginners, but it's actually not. There is zero pronunciation help and you are thrown straight into full stories. Fine once you are past A2 or A1 at least, but not for day one. Some useful phrases are highlighted, but not all difficult words are. There is a vocabulary list and comprehension questions, but no active vocabulary practice. Great for building passive vocabulary, words you recognize when reading signs or menus, but not for speaking.
The last book today is Beautiful Picture Dictionary, the one with gorgeous cover. This one blew me away visually. I immediately wanted the physical copy. They have versions for Chinese, German, and other languages. So yeah, I learned some of these languages and that's why I wanted a copy. Words grouped by topic here, lovely illustrations, transcription included, but it's literally just pictures and words. No exercises, no example sentences, perfect coffee table book or for occasionally naming objects, but not a learning tool at all. Some items are so niche that even native speakers might not know those words. For example, подвесное кашпо. I would just say that there is a flower pot instead of kashpo because I've never heard that word before and I've never used that in my life. Горшок с цветами and подвесное. I'm not sure that there is a person in this word who would say подвесное кашпо. But I don't know, yeah, maybe there are. Let's move on, my final thoughts. So if you're studying completely on your own, Colloquial Russian and Daphne West book are probably the strongest of the bunch. Russian for Dummies is fun, definitely, but lacks practice, so you will have to find another book for practicing those expressions, those phrases. Most of the others are either outdated, have almost no practice, have some mistakes, or strange design choices. Of course, if you are Learning on your own book is not sufficient when it comes to pronunciation, so I encourage you to watch some videos on how to pronounce Russian letters separately and how to pronounce them in sentences. I mean, how to pronounce words. Russian is quite easier than French, for example, because the word separately is pronounced the same as it's gonna be pronounced in the sentence. So there are no other words that might change the way it's pronounced in the sentence. Good, I think that's it for today. Let me know in the comments which Russian books you've tried and whether you like them. If you want me to review some modern apps or courses next, give this video a thumbs up so I know. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one. Пока-пока.